So Sheryl Swoopes is at it again. And by at it again, I mean she's running her mouth. This time she's coming after Sophie Cunningham. We all know Sophie Cunningham sent a pretty loud message. By the way, a message that wouldn't have been needed had the WNBA referees done their job during that Connecticut Sun Indiana Fever game, instead of just being like, nah, nothing to see here. We'll just let everybody that assaulted Caitlin Clark just stay in this game.
Imagine a WNBA legend known for her own ferocity suddenly deciding that protecting a teammate is a cardinal sin. Sounds wild, right? Well, buckle up, because the drama unfolding around Sheryl Swoopes, Sophie Cunningham, and yes, Caitlin Clark, is revealing a deep, uncomfortable truth about the WNBA's past, present, and fiercely contested future. This isn't just about a couple of fouls. It's a showdown with more heat than a microwave burrito, exposing the raw nerves of a league caught between its traditional roots and an explosive new era. Get ready, this one's spicy, messy, and weirdly personal. For weeks, the WNBA has been buzzing with what can only be described as a verbal slam dunk from a Hall of Famer, Sheryl Swoopes. Yes, that Sheryl Swoopes is at it again, running her mouth, and this time, she's coming directly for Sophie Cunningham. Now, if you've been following the fever, you know Sophie Cunningham sent a pretty loud message on the court recently, a message, by the way, that many argue wouldn't have been necessary if the WNBA referees had simply done their job during that chaotic Connecticut Sun vs. Indiana Fever game, instead of letting every player who seemed to, well, assault Caitlin Clark just stay in the game. The moment every WNBA drama junkie has been secretly foaming at the mouth for finally happened. No, not a surprise mid-season trade or a bench-clearing brawl, but something far more theatrical. Sheryl Swoopes, in a move that felt less like sports analysis and more like a reality TV star entering the arena, decided to throw herself straight into the fray by publicly slamming Sophie Cunningham. Why? Because Sophie dared to embrace herself, play physically, and heaven forbid, show support for Caitlin Clark. Oh, the horror. Apparently, we've reached a phase in the WNBA where defending a teammate is now a federal offense, especially if that teammate is Caitlin Clark, the walking headline machine who can sink threes with her eyes closed and still get elbowed for just, breathing. Enter Sophie Cunningham, who dared to, wait for it, exist on the court with some intensity. This particular outrage ignited when Sophie gave J.C. Sheldon what some are calling an Aikido move at the end of a game, and suddenly, everyone lost their minds. What makes this even more layered and frankly hypocritical is Swoopes' own history. This is the same Sheryl Swoopes who, let's not forget, was lovingly hugging Angel Reese after Reese gave Caitlin Clark what looked like a clothesline from hell last year. The same Angel Reese who celebrated Kennedy Carter's slam into Clark and racially shaded Clark in a social media post earlier this year, implying Clark was too scared to fight. Yet, according to Swoopes, Sophie's actions are too dirty, too aggressive, and far too supportive because, God forbid, someone shows loyalty to the most fouled player in the league without getting sides wiped by the self-appointed Hall of Morality. Let's not pretend this wasn't coming, though. The moment Sophie stood her ground like a body-checking bouncer at a VIP lounge for three-point assassins, the self-appointed basketball purists began clutching their pearls. And Swoopes, she went full broadcast vigilante. Not only did she slap a metaphorical foul on Cunningham's character, she practically dragged her through the mud with commentary that felt less like thoughtful sports analysis and more like a public roast session in a group chat. The irony, of course, is that Sophie didn't exactly clothesline anyone into the third row. She did what every gritty player does: set hard screens, boxed out like her paycheck depended on it, and dared to stand between Caitlin Clark and yet another unnecessary hit. This, it seems, is what triggered the WNBA's Elite Opinions squad. They've now decided that physicality is a crime if it comes wrapped in a ponytail and an Indiana jersey. Hue the pro clutching, the Fox hysteria, and the legacy lectures from the front row of former stars. But here's Sophie Cunningham's take on it. I'm just going to be me. I'm not focused on the extracurricular activities. And you know what? It was just part of the game. I think the refs had a lot to do with that. It was a build-up for a couple years now of them just not protecting the star player of the WNBA. And so, at the end of the day, I'm going to protect my teammates. That's what I do. And I'm a team player. Suddenly, loyalty is problematic. Grit is villainous. And Sophie Cunningham is public enemy number one in a league that has always allegedly celebrated toughness, as long as it doesn't come with a smirk and unapologetic defense. For this particular player, Sheryl Swoopes, for those who need a refresher, is a WNBA legend with a resume longer than a CVS receipt. She's got rings, gold medals, and a history book somewhere with her name scribbled all over it. And yet, with all that legacy, she still somehow found time to play middle school principal with a whistle, calling out Sophie for behavior that barely registers as controversial in literally any other sport. No. She launched what felt like a full-blown smear campaign, as if Sophie had personally insulted her crossover, and the internet, oh, it thrived. Clips of Sophie setting hard screens were suddenly treated like war crimes. Comment sections turned into courtrooms, fans became detectives, breaking down game footage like it was the Zapruder film. Meanwhile, Cheryl's name started trending not for her accolades, but for what was basically a verbal slam dunk and flip-flops. As one analyst put it, you've got competitive women who are the best in the world at what they do, right? And when you allow them to play physical and you allow these things to happen, they're going to compete and they're going to have their teammates' backs. It's exactly what you expect out of fierce competition. What makes this even more delicious is the sheer pettiness involved. This wasn't a strategic breakdown or thoughtful commentary. It was peak hold my mic energy. It felt less like a post-game analysis and more like a roast battle that somehow got ESPN airtime. Sophie, to her credit, just kept doing what she does, being aggressively effective in the most confrontational way possible. And Caitlin Clark, bless her heart, probably looked like someone who just realized she wandered into a Real Housewives reunion by mistake. The outrage was so disproportionate. You'd think Sophie pulled out a steel chair and went full WWE. Spoiler, she didn't. But that didn't stop Sheryl. She saw a fiery white girl with ponytail energy and essentially said, "Ah, yes, public enemy number one." No mention of the elbows Caitlyn's absorbed this season, like she's playing dodgeball with bricks. No outrage for the hip checks, body slams, and subtle MMA moves unleashed on Clark every time she dares to touch the ball. It's almost as if the standard for dirty play is conveniently flexible, depending on who's doing the hitting and, more importantly, who's being hit. And this is where it gets truly rich, because Swoopes, who once made a living out of playing ferocious, unrelenting, and dare we say aggressive basketball, is suddenly acting like Sophie Cunningham is corrupting the sanctity of the game. This, from someone whose highlight reels include enough physicality to make NFL players blush. Ah, the irony, it's so thick you could spread it on toast. Let's call this what it really is, a power move from someone who can't quite stand the fact that the WNBA spotlight has shifted. Swoopes was the queen bee now. The hive's buzzing around Caitlin Clark, and suddenly everything feels a little too noisy for her liking. If Sophie's dirty, as someone joked, then the 2000 for Pistons were serial felons. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark is out here being treated like a pipata at a toddler's birthday party. And the moment someone finally steps up to say, "Hey, maybe don't try to break her ribs every possession," the moral police shows up with a citation pad and a Swoop-sized ego, of course. The internet had a field day because nothing screams irony like a legend with a highlight reel full of bruises now acting like Sophie Cunningham is sullying the good name of basketball. Social media lit up faster than a Steph Curry three-pointer. Memes poured in because this wasn't a teachable moment, it was a petty one. Also, let's talk about the hypocrisy Olympics going on here. You can't have a league full of physical play, trash talk, and chip on your shoulder attitudes, then clutch pearls when Sophie gets a little feisty. It's not like she went full Dennis Rodman. She just refused to play the silent background character in the Caitlin Clark story. And this is the real sin, isn't it? That someone who isn't part of the anointed WNBA Cool Kids Club decided to get involved. Because Sophie doesn't come with a legacy label or a media-approved personality. She's not supposed to be part of the narrative, but now she is, and Swoopes, according to some, can't stand it. Funny how that works. So instead of appreciating the fact that Caitlin finally has someone in her corner, someone not afraid to throw a legal screen and a little side-eye, we're supposed to believe this is some kind of sports scandal. Please, Sheryl Swoopes trying to paint Sophie Cunningham as the villain is like blaming your umbrella for the rain. It's backwards logic at its finest. Here's a thought, maybe Swoopes should thank Sophie, because without this so-called dirty play, Caitlin Clark might be one flagrant foul away from a stretcher. But sure, let's scold the only player who's acting like she's seen a playoff game before. And Sophie, she's not losing sleep. She's too busy doing what Swoopes apparently forgot, playing the game. It's a special kind of irony when someone who once embodied grit now treats it like a criminal offense. Maybe Swoopes is trying out for a role as the league's official vibes inspector. Or maybe she's just jealous that someone else is getting airtime without having to relive the 90s. Either way, the tantrum's been thrown, the drama's been stirred, and the rest of us, we're just here for the popcorn. Because when the biggest scandal in the league is a role player supporting her teammate, with some on-court backbone, maybe it's time for the so-called legends to take a seat. Or better yet, take notes. Sophie's out here doing the dirty work. And apparently that's dirtier than all the elbows Caitlyn's taken this season. The math ain't mathing, but the drama, oh, it's multiplying. Swoopes wanted smoke. What she got was a bonfire of bad takes fueled by nostalgia and wrapped in bitter commentary. And Sophie, she didn't need to respond, her defense did the talking, and Clark, still standing, still draining threes, but sure, let's cancel the enforcer and pretend the legend has spoken divine truth. Because that's what the league really needs, less defense and more diva energy. What a time to be alive. Turns out finger-pointing from the balcony doesn't score points. Just makes you look like you missed the bus to 2025. Swoopes didn't just stir the pot. She dropped it, broke it, and tried to blame the cookware meanwhile. Cunningham is clocking in, punching time cards with grit and leaving a trail of confused opponents wondering why she hasn't been named Team MVP yet. This isn't a scandal, it's an origin story. Sophie's transformation from dependable rotation piece to public enemy in the WNBA multiverse has created a bizarre subplot no one saw coming. She didn't ask for the spotlight, but she sure isn't dodging it. And now Swoopes, once the blueprint for no-nonsense dominance, is floating through headlines. Not as a mentor, not as a beacon of insight, but as the league's latest armchair referee. Pity. Greatness used to echo, needing no drama press tour. No subtweet sagas, just screens, steals, and staring down anyone dumb enough to try bullying the new face of the league. Because if protecting a teammate is an offense, call her guilty. And if having the backbone to do it while getting roasted by former legends is taboo, she'll wear that label like a badge. For those waiting for Sophie to clap back, don't hold your breath. Her reply is silent, made of rebounds, defense, and hustle. Let the critics play Twitter coach. She'll play ball. Funny how that's still allowed. Anyway, back to reality. Caitlin Clark still dropping bombs from the parking lot. Sophie Cunningham still playing bodyguard with a smile, and Sheryl Swoopes, she's still on the sidelines yelling at clouds. Maybe she'll get a podcast out of this. Or maybe just more memes. Either way, the court keeps spinning. And the game, it moves forward with or without the commentary from ghosts of dynasties past. What do you think about this clash of eras? Is Sophie Cunningham a villain or a hero? And are some legends struggling to adapt to the WNBA's new reality? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you found this story as spicy as I did, don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the wild world of celebrity and sports.